I still remember the weight of her the first night I held her, how my arms trembled, not from weakness, but from fear. She was so small, wrapped in a hospital blanket that smelled of soap and new beginnings. Her fingers curled around mine with surprising strength, as if she already knew the world would try to take things from her, and she would need to hold on. Her mother slept beside us, exhausted, smiling even in her dreams. I leaned closer and whispered a promise into my daughter's tiny ear, one I didn't know would cost me everything. "I'll always be here." Life tested that promise early. When her mother left, whether it was fate, illness, or the quiet erosion of love doesn't matter anymore. It became just the two of us. A man who barely knew how to cook and a little girl who trusted him with her whole heart, I learned quickly. Burned dinners, sleepless nights, school lunches wrapped too tight or too loose. I worked days, nights, weekends, whatever kept the lights on and her shoes new. I missed parties, I missed friends. I missed the man I used to be, but I never missed her. Every scraped knee, every nightmare, every school performance where she searched the crowd until her eyes found mine, I was there. Sitting too straight, clapping too loud, smiling until my face hurt. When she cried, I became her shield. When she dreamed, I became her ladder. I told her she could be anything, and she believed me. As she grew older, the world began whispering different things into her ear. About money, about status, about how love looks better when it's polished and expensive. I noticed it in small ways at first. The way she hesitated before inviting friends over. The way she stopped holding my hand in public. Then she met him. He came from a world I'd never belonged to. His parents wore wealth like perfume, subtle but unmistakable. Their smiles were polite, measured, assessing. They shook my hand as if I were a formality, not a father. I didn't blame her when she changed. People grow, dreams evolve. I told myself that distance was natural, that success rewrites priorities. I told myself love didn't need constant proof. So when phone calls grew shorter, when visits became rare, when I learned important news through social media instead of her voice, I swallowed the ache and stayed quiet. Because fathers endure, the wedding invitation arrived in thick, elegant paper, gold lettering, her name printed beautifully. Mine, smaller, secondary, still I smiled. On the morning of the wedding, I stood in front of my mirror longer than I should have. The suit was old but clean, pressed carefully. I straightened my tie with hands that had once braided her hair for school. I practiced my smile, the proud one, the one that said asterisk. I raised her asterisk. At the venue, everything sparkled, crystal lights, expensive flowers, laughter that didn't include me. I saw her from afar, radiant, glowing, surrounded by people who looked like they belonged. For a moment, she met my eyes. She hesitated, then she looked away. A quiet truth settled in my chest, heavy and unfamiliar. Something had shifted. Something had already been decided without me, but I stayed silent, because love doesn't shout when it's hurt. It waits, and I had no idea how much waiting would cost me. The ceremony was flawless. Music drifted through the air like something holy, each note carefully chosen, rehearsed, perfected. Guests dabbed their eyes, cameras flashed, everyone smiled at the promise of forever, everyone except me. I sat alone in the third row, on the aisle, close enough to see her face clearly, far enough to feel unnecessary. When she walked down the aisle, radiant in white, the room seemed to breathe her in. I felt my chest tighten the way it used to when she took her first steps, fear and pride tangled together. I whispered her name without realizing it. She didn't look at me. The vows passed like a blur. Applause rose. They kissed. The room erupted with joy. I clapped too slowly, deliberately, because that's what fathers do, even when their hearts are breaking. After the ceremony, a coordinator announced it was time for family photos. Immediate family, please gather by the stage. I stood. That was my place. It always had been. Before I could take more than 2 steps, I felt a hand touch my arm. Gentle, hesitant, familiar. "Dad, can I talk to you for a second?" Her voice was tight, rehearsed. the way it used to sound when she was about to ask for something she knew would hurt me. We stepped aside, away from the guests, away from the lights. Her eyes darted around, making sure no one was watching. She didn't meet my gaze. "Please don't join the family photo," she said quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "It's just for family." I waited for the rest of the sentence, for the explanation, for the joke, for the apology. None came. "I don't want it to be awkward," she added. "You understand, right?" I searched her face, this woman I had raised, loved, protected, and saw a stranger wearing my daughter's eyes. I nodded. Of course I did. Because arguing wouldn't change anything. Because love, when it's won, sided, learns how to stay quiet. "I understand," I said softly. She exhaled in relief, smiled, thanked me. Then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there like something forgotten. I returned to my seat as photographers arranged their family. His parents stood proudly at her side. His father placed a hand on her shoulder, the same way I used to when she was nervous. That's when I heard her laugh. "Bright, confident, this is my real father," she said, looping her arm through her father-in-law's. "He's been more of a dad to me than anyone." Laughter followed. Applause. Someone said, "How sweet." My hands went numb. The room tilted not violently, but just enough to make me feel unsteady, like the ground itself had quietly given up on me. Asterisk not her family anymore. Asterisk the words replayed in my head, louder than the music, sharper than any insult she could have thrown. I watched her lean into another man, offering him a title I had earned with decades of sacrifice, and in that moment something inside me broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. I didn't cry, I didn't confront her. I stood, adjusted my jacket, and walked away. No one stopped me. Outside, the air felt colder, clearer. I took a long breath and looked at my hands, the same hands that had carried her, fed her, built her life piece by piece. They were shaking, not with anger, with understanding. I had spent my life protecting her future, even from herself. But standing there alone, erased in a room full of people, I finally realized something painful and freeing. You cannot be family to someone who has already decided you're disposable. And for the first time that day, I allowed myself to choose silence not as surrender, but as preparation. The reception hall glittered like a dream built on borrowed light. Crystal chandeliers hung low, catching reflections of laughter and champagne flutes. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Everything about the evening whispered *money*, the kind that doesn't ask where it came from. I took a seat near the back. No one noticed. That used to hurt. Strangely, now it felt like permission. A waiter offered me a drink. I declined. I wanted my mind clear, my hands steady. I had already made my decision, and decisions like this deserved respect. The master of ceremonies tapped the microphone. Before dinner, he announced, smiling broadly, "We'll begin with a few words and the presentation of gifts from the family." Family. The word no longer stung. It had gone numb, like an old scar. Names were called, envelopes exchanged. Laughter followed each generous announcement. Then, unexpectedly, the MC glanced at his list and frowned. "And now," he said, squinting, "a special contribution from the bride's father." A ripple moved through the room. I stood. For the first time that night, heads turned. Whispers traveled fast. I felt dozens of eyes on me as I walked toward the stage. Slow, unhurried, composed. Not a man seeking attention, but one reclaiming his voice. My daughter's smile faltered when she saw me. I took the microphone gently, as if it might shatter under the truth. "I won't take much time," I said. My voice was calm, steady. Today is about love, about beginnings. I paused, letting the silence breathe. I've always believed that love means giving without expecting anything in return. Her shoulders relaxed. I saw relief pass through her face. That was my final gift to her, false comfort. As her father, I continued. I wanted to make sure she never had to worry about her future. I reached into my jacket and removed a slim folder. No dramatic flourish, just paper, the kind that changes leaves quietly. "This wedding," I said, "the venue, the advance payments, the trust that secured their first home, and the investment backing her husband's new company, these were never gifts." Murmurs began. "They were responsibilities," I said, "ones I carried willingly, privately." Her eyes widened. "But today—" I went on, meeting her gaze for the first time all evening. "I was informed that I am no longer considered family." The room froze. "I respect boundaries," I said, "so I will honor that." I opened the folder, withdrawing financial guarantees, terminating trusts, returning ownership to their original holders. Gasps rippled through the hall. The groom's mother stood abruptly. His father whispered furiously to someone near him. I didn't raise my voice. I want to be clear. I said, "This isn't punishment, it's alignment." I turned slightly toward my daughter. "You chose your family today," I said softly. I simply stepped back so they could stand on their own. Her hands began to tremble. I placed the folder on the table beside the microphone and stepped away. No insults, no anger, just truth. As I returned to my seat, the orchestra stopped playing. Conversations fractured into chaos. The illusion cracked, hairline at first, then spreading fast. Behind me, I heard her call my name. I didn't turn around, because the gift she never saw coming wasn't the withdrawal of money. It was the withdrawal of *me*. And she was about to learn how expensive that loss really was. #**, chapter 4, 2 hours later, she lost her self-con. Troll ***, 2 hours can feel like a lifetime when the truth has nowhere left to hide. At first the room tried to recover. Music resumed awkwardly, too loud, as if volume could smother reality. Laughter followed, forced and brittle. Glasses clinked, but no one was celebrating anymore. People smiled without their eyes. I remained seated, untouched, watching the unraveling from a distance. The groom's parents were the first to retreat. I saw them huddled near the exit, voices sharp and urgent. His father's jaw was clenched, his earlier warmth evaporated. His mother shook her head again and again, as if denial might reverse what had been said. They hadn't known. That much was clear. The promises they had built their pride on, business capital, shared investments, a prestigious venue they could brag about, had never been theirs. They were borrowed certainty, and it had just been recalled. The groom confronted my daughter near the bar. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the shift in his posture, the confusion, the disbelief, the anger he tried and failed to hide. His hands moved sharply as he spoke. Hers flew to her chest, then to her hair, undoing what had been so carefully styled. People began to leave, some quietly, some with thin excuses. The tables emptied faster than the dance floor ever could. Staff members whispered to one another. A manager checked his tablet repeatedly, his smile gone. Then it happened. She found me. Her heels struck the floor too hard as she crossed the room, white dress swaying, eyes wild. The music cut out mid-note as her voice broke through the air. "How could you do this to me?" Every head turned. "This was my wedding," she cried. "You humiliated me." I stood slowly, not to defend myself, but to face her. "I didn't humiliate you," I said evenly. "I respected your wishes." Her laugh was sharp, unhinged. "You ruined everything." "No," I replied. I stopped pretending. She stepped closer, her face flushed, mascara beginning to streak. "You were supposed to help me. You always help me." I looked at her, really looked, and saw a child trapped inside a woman who had confused entitlement for love. "You told me I wasn't your family," I said quietly. "Families support each other. Strangers don't." Her breath hitched. "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered desperately. "I was under pressure. You don't understand. I understand perfectly." I said, "I understood the moment you replaced me without hesitation." Her knees buckled. She screamed then, not words, just sound. Raw, uncontrollable. Guests shrank back. Someone tried to comfort her. She slapped their hand away. "This was supposed to be my perfect day," she sobbed. You were supposed to disappear quietly. The truth landed heavy in the room. I felt no triumph, no joy, only closure. I disappeared the moment you asked me to. I said, tonight, I just made it official. Silence swallowed us. I reached into my pocket and removed a small envelope, creased, worn, this. I said, placing it gently on the table beside her, was going to be my real gift, a letter, for when you doubted yourself, for when marriage felt hard. She didn't touch it. I hope one day, I continued, you understand the difference between a father and a sponsor. I turned to leave. Behind me, she collapsed into sobs, loud, uncontrolled, echoing through a room that had lost its shine. I didn't look back. Outside, the night air was cool, honest. I breathed deeply, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. I walked away alone, not rejected, not defeated, but finally unburdened, because some losses don't break you. They release you.